On this episode of Hot Rod Hoarders, we go back to the same woods where we got the HEMI powered dragster a few years ago, and we find some cool muscle cars, some 50s classics, and even a surprise in the barn that you're going to want to see. When my dad and I bought the dragster and got it out of the woods, we obviously noticed all the old cars in the woods. I've been thinking about this for a few years now, since we first went there. Jim has unfortunately passed away, but his daughter Angie lives there now and owns the property and has, obviously has taken ownership of all of these cars and things. It just dawned on me that me and Carlee could go on a little junkyard adventure in Jim's backyard. Anytime I can spend the afternoon digging around in the woods looking at old cars, that's a good day for me. So let's check it out. On top of the hill is a 59 Dodge Coronet. It's a four-door, just your everyday sedan from the late 50s. And there was a time where cars like this were strictly parts cars. But if you take a closer look, you'll see that this car is very solid. The rockers, the quarter panels, the fenders, all that stuff is really good. I'm sure the floors are rotted out and there's probably some rust on the frame. But still, this is a very buildable car, and it's just one of many four-door sedans that are in Jim's collection. These cars are wrecked, these cars are mangled, they're rusty, they're incomplete. They're really not worth a whole lot, but they're still cool to look at. And these are the same cars that I looked through when we were finding parts for Jim's dragster. He had actually stuffed the drive shaft and several other parts inside of these cars. So it was really cool to take a second look, make sure I didn't miss anything, but also just see what else was inside of these cars. Like buried treasure. Let's see what it is.
Yeah. Oh, you got it. Whoa.
That is. I love seeing big stacks of tires and wheels because I can always find one that piques my interest. This one is getting my attention because it's aluminum. I like aluminum. See if we can read that. It says Sears, and it says KH. That means Kelsey Hayes. That's cool. So this had a steel rim that's been chrome plated, and then a cast center that's riveted to it. And then originally it would have had painted windows. All that's gone, but still a pretty cool wheel. It's like maybe a 14x5, something like that. So it's a Sears wheel with a JCPenney tire on it. Very cool. Yeah, just the flat pieces of metal used to be a race car. I'm going to investigate a little further. I can't help it.
Can I help?
Yeah. Okay, so this was a Camaro. Judging by this front nose piece, it's definitely Camaro right there. So like 70 through 73 Camaro round track.
Oh.
And here's the rest of the body, what's left of it. You see the name Leon, number 22. And this thing has pretty much just collapsed on itself. See what this lettering says. Something transmission. Can't tell. It's really cool. Oh, it's crazy that this is so flat. It looks like it's been run over by a truck. But you can see right there, Camaro spoiler. And what in the world? How? It's so rough. I don't know what that said. And it looks like our crew, or maybe paint. Yeah, that's paint by Shane and Ronnie. I don't know who they are, but did a good job on this paint job. Got a stack of doors that goes way back in there. I see some Tri-5 Chevy doors back in there too. But very cool. Okay, let's see what this thing is. It says Clayton's Auto Parts on the quarter panel, Dayton, Tennessee. Yes, I like that. This is some kind of Ford, it looks like. I can't really tell. Let's see what we got here. Ford LTD. I really don't know. I don't know what that is. What do you think it is?
I have no idea.
We got lettering. Thanks, Gary, David, Kathy, Dad. Cool. We got some stickers. Competition Engineering, Moroso, Holly, something else I can't see very good. All right, we got a roll cage. Full-on roll cage. I like it.
You sure this is a better way?
Man, that is cool. That is so cool. Oh, it's a Dodge. Oh. How did I not know this was a Dodge? Okay. Some kind of Dodge. It's got some damage. Pretty normal for a dirt track car. Got this cool grate over the windshield. Some hand lettering. All the kind of stuff that I like to see. We got a Plymouth. Guess this is a Belvedere. Like a 63, 4, or 5. I don't know. Not very good with Mopars, but something like that. It's got some trim missing, but still got some glass in it. Some emblems, some hard to find stuff. Pretty cool. We got some kind of big old car, maybe a Torino. Yeah, I think that's a Torino of some sort. Let's see what we got here. Okay, this one's rotten, but I'm seeing some stripes here. It tells me that this could be a cool car. We're going to need to run some numbers on this one. Let's see if we can find where the numbers are. Okay, where the numbers would be is covered with briars, so maybe next time. An unfortunate side effect of cars sitting in the woods is that they're surrounded by trees, and trees tend to fall. And one unfortunate suspect was this Dodge Charger, which was a little bit rusty, is a little bit rough around the edges, but still a buildable car. And now it is completely demolished because a tree fell on it, and I mean, it's smashed. So, of course, I still wanted to investigate. I wanted to dig around. Okay, so I was looking at the trim tag on the inner fender on this Charger, and I mean, it's full of just wood and shrapnel from a tree falling down. But inside, right here, I happen to know on these cars that they have a little pocket where they put a factory warranty card. You know, these things just didn't survive. People threw them away, they got damaged, they fell off, and this one's still got it. Look right there. Pull that out.
No way.
It's like a little credit card. Pull it out of there.
Okay.
Pull it out, this little card.
Why am I going to pull it out?
Because we're going to see what this car was all about.
I
It'll
can't
have
get
all
it
this
out.
car's information on it. Oh, it is kind of stuck, isn't it? Let's get it out there.
Wait, that was in the engine?
Look at this.
This
Look
is
at
the
this.
engine?
Look at that right there. Chrysler Corporation, Certicard. We got to look at these numbers. So the letter X means Charger. The letter P means premium. 29, that means fastback. That's the only way you can get a Charger in 66 and 7. And then we've got the letter G, which means that it was a 383 cubic inch engine. The next one is the number 6, meaning this is a 1966. And then the number 1 means that it was built in the Lynch Road plant. And then we've got P4W, that means white interior. And then XXI means it was beige in color. Then we've got T5, that means it had an automatic transmission. SA means it had a standard axle. The letters S1 means that this car had air conditioning, another pretty rare option. P6 means remote mirror. R1 means AM radio. Pretty exciting stuff there. All right, we're going to put this back in there for safekeeping.
Aww.
We'll put it right back where we found it.
So keep it.
Right over here. No, we can't keep this. This belongs with this car. It's been with this car for all these years. I'm going to put it right back in there, just like it was. Okay.
And go to the left.
Here we go. This is the one that'll have a card. Maybe. Dodge Charger. This is a 66 or a 67 Dodge Charger. And this is one of the most complete cars out of the whole collection. I mean, very complete.
And look inside. Look inside.
What's it got in there? Anything? Seats?
Yep. Come here.
Here, since this one's out in the open, let's open the door.
Yeah.
Okay. Sweet. Okay, bucket seats. Very good. Console still there. Most of the dash is there. These things are super cool because the console goes all the way to the back. These rear seats, they fold down, and it's just a cool looking deal from the 60s.
We gotta see if there's a card in it.
Very cool. Yeah, we got to look under the hood on this thing and see if there's a engine or a card, anything to tell us more about it. So I pulled it out, looked at the fender tag, and got the information off of it. So we've got the XP29. That's Charger Premium, Fastback. This one is the letter F instead of G. The F code engine is a 361 cubic inch, 2-barrel engine with 265 horsepower. Probably one of Mopar's lesser known engines. That's probably for a good reason. I don't think they were anything special. Also a 66 model. This one is a P4X interior code, which means it had black interior. PPI exterior paint code, which was bright red. T5 means automatic, standard axle. But the red car is very buildable. Between the two Chargers, you can really build something nice. I mean, there's enough parts there to put something really cool together. The red car is decently solid. I know the floor pans are gone and probably some issues with the frame rails and stuff like that, but the outside of this car looks pretty decent. It's definitely buildable. Also in the woods were a couple of 57 Chevys, which always catch my eye. One station wagon and one hardtop car. And, you know, not a whole lot there, but if somebody really wanted to build one, you know, there's your starting point right there. So a couple of pretty neat cars. Then we had another Charger. We had a couple other Mopars that stood out to me. 68 or 69 GTX. I'm not really sure. I couldn't tell. It had been cut up and there wasn't a lot left of it. There was a Ford Torino that was a pretty nice car. Another buildable car. Several cars from the 70s and maybe early 80s. And then there was a big box truck, which box trucks are cool to look at, but they also serve as really good storage places. So I had to open the door and see what was in there. It turns out it was full of parts, but nothing really spectacular. You know, it looked like 70s and 80s stuff. So while I was out here, I wanted to explore in the barn a little bit because this barn is a little bit sketchy. There's a ton of stuff in here. There's not really any easy way to get in and out of it. And I think that's by design. They probably don't want anybody, you know, having easy access to this stuff. So I crawled around and found some parts and pieces and lots of Mopar stuff. There's some Mopar road wheels out there, some cylinder heads, some blocks, some cranks, pistons, you know, all sorts of engine parts. And the most exciting thing that was in this barn, though, was a big, complete early HEMI. And this thing, Jim had told us about it, so I knew this thing was there, but just seeing it again, I mean, it's just, it is a cool motor, and I was curious about it because Jim didn't give us a tremendous amount of details about that engine. So I wanted to find the numbers on it, figure out what it was, because I don't know my Hemis all that well. Could have been another 354 like what was in the dragster. I didn't have any way of telling. So I did a quick Google search on how to find the numbers, where they're located, and it turns out they're right on the front of the engine block. So I took a stick and I kind of scraped the gunk and oil and dirt and all that off of there, and was able to finally see those numbers. And what it is a 1957 Chrysler HEMI, meaning this is a 392 cubic inch. This is the HEMI that you want. This is the HEMI that everybody wanted in the 50s. It is an awesome, awesome piece, and it's complete from carburetor to oil pan. I mean, this thing is ready for just a standard rebuild. It's not like it's been out in the weather. It's been under a roof all these years. Also in the barn is a giant supercharger. I'm assuming this came off of a Caterpillar engine, judging by the color. This obviously didn't come off of a racing application. This looks like it came straight off of a bulldozer or some kind of big diesel engine or something like that. Yes.
Gas pedal.
Gas pedal. I like it. Good find.
Thank
Don't
you.
touch these. That's like Briars, except way worse.
Yeah.
You've got a lot of them. Don't touch. Hey, what? I just told you not to touch them. Out there. Some good headers off of something. Don't know what. Some kind of giant drum brakes off of a big truck, it looks like.
I have so many
Rubber
cans.
front bumper. So we dug around in the woods for a couple hours and saw some pretty cool stuff. Now, this collection doesn't have a tremendous amount of cars. I mean, we're talking 20 cars or so. But they're really cool, and they're cool to look at because they've been here for so long. And in Jim's case, some of these cars actually weren't his. Several of them belonged to his nephew. A couple of them belonged to friends. This just turned out to be a place to keep old cars. So it's not like, he was doing any harm to some really high dollar cars, with exception of those Chargers. Those are pretty high dollar. But the rest of the stuff, just think about 40 years ago, that wasn't really fancy stuff. That wasn't high dollar stuff. So those old cars were just old cars. And as time went on, they become more valuable. But most of these cars are pretty rotten, pretty rusty. They're pretty incomplete. So, they're serving their purpose of just being on Jim's property and, just being conversation pieces. And, eventually I'm sure this place will get cleaned out and some of those cars will get put to use. Some of them will get scrapped. Some of them will be used as parts cars. But in the end, it's still cool to see these old cars that have been sitting here for so long. Of course, me and Carlee always have fun together. When we go on these little adventures, I call them little adventures, but to her, they're big adventures. And that's important to remember, that these are big things that she's getting to do. And for me, of course, I love the car aspect of it, and I try to teach her stuff. And I don't want to completely get her burned out on it, but I do want to educate her on some of these old cars and get her excited about them. But I also like the fact that we're outside, we're outdoors, we're in the woods. That kind of thing is not quite as common as it was when I was a kid. So for us to just go roaming around in the woods, it teaches you a little bit about wilderness and just being out there, more so than being, sitting in front of a computer or in front of a TV. So that, I feel like, is a valuable experience for both of us, to get out and get a little bit of fresh air, and see some bugs and see some animals that we might not normally see, and obviously see some old cars that mean something to us. So just wanted to share that here, share my experience, share the fun, and show off some of these old cars that Jim had stashed away for years. I don't want you to think that Jim just didn't care about his cars. Now, obviously, these cars are sitting out in the woods. Of course, they got rusty. They have parts missing. They're wrecked. And, just think of it as parts cars or a junkyard. And for Jim, he did use parts off of these things for his other project cars. Jim's daughters, Angie and Jamie, are carrying on his legacy. They have old cars that he left to them. They have a 1970 Plymouth Superbird, a 440 automatic car. Angie drives it all the time. It makes me proud to see her drive it because these old cars are kind of finicky, and to just see her keep it on the road, I mean, that just makes me feel good because I know that that car is going to keep running. There's a 68 Corvette. That's another one that was restored at about the same time frame. It's not a really highly optioned car. It's a small block car, but still really nice, really mostly original. It was really cool to take Carlee back in the woods and show her some of these old cars and things. And I just wanted to share some of it here because it was just, these things are just too cool to pass up. And if I just experience that for me and her alone and not show it off to the rest of the world, then I feel like you guys would be missing out on something that you would never have the opportunity to see. So I wanted to share that here, and I hope you enjoy seeing some of these old cars and enjoy hearing some of these old stories about them.